Edit. Every girl ran from the Alpha King's pup. The maid sat down on the floor and started singing. Why did every other girl run from the Alpha King's pup? And what made the maid stay, sit beside him, and begin to sing? Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Before we begin, please subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss another emotional Alpha King story filled with unexpected courage, powerful bonds, and unforgettable moments. Thank you for continuing to watch, support, and share these stories with us. Your encouragement truly means so much. Tell us in the comments, would you have run with everyone else or stayed beside the frightened pup? Now settle in, listen closely, and let us enter the royal hall where one simple song is about to change the silence. Do not run, Hannah Reid whispered. He is not trying to attack anyone. A silver tray crashed across the royal great hall. Golden cups rolled beneath overturned chairs while silk-clad young women screamed and fled toward the doors. Their expensive gifts lay abandoned across the stone floor. Painted toys, jeweled collars, sugared cakes, and tiny ceremonial cloaks meant for the Alpha King's son. At the center of the destruction stood Lucas Blackwood. The 6-year-old royal pup had shifted halfway between boy and wolf. Dark fur covered his arms. Small claws scraped the stone. His amber eyes flashed beneath tangled black hair as a frightened growl shook his narrow chest. Keep away from him, Lady Caroline Whitmore shouted. She gathered her white skirts and retreated behind 2 guards. Moments earlier, Caroline had approached Lucas with a golden toy crown and called him a handsome little prince. Then she had tried to place it on his head without asking. Lucas had knocked the crown aside. When 3 other women surrounded him with rehearsed smiles, his breathing had broken into short, desperate gasps. Now every possible Luna candidate was running from him. Hannah remained near the overturned cleaning bucket. She had been kneeling beside the eastern pillars, wiping mud from the floor while the noblewomen competed for the child's attention. No one had noticed the maid. No one except Lucas. His gaze found her across the hall. He bared his teeth. But Hannah saw what the others had missed. Lucas was not watching their throats. He was searching for an escape. His pointed ears were flattened against his head. One clawed hand covered the side of his face while the other pressed against his chest. Every crash, scream, and shouted command made his body tighten further. Margaret Hayes, the head housekeeper, grabbed Hannah's arm. Run, child. Hannah gently pulled free. He does not need another person to run from him. A guard raised a silver restraint. Lucas saw it. His growl became a howl. The chandeliers trembled. Hannah stepped between the guard and the child. Put that away. The guard stared at her. You are a servant. And he is terrified. Lucas crouched lower. Hannah placed her cleaning cloth beside the bucket. Then she sat on the cold floor. Not close enough to touch him. Not directly in front of him. She turned slightly aside so he would not mistake her attention for a challenge. The hall grew strangely quiet. Caroline watched from behind the guards. What is she doing? Hannah lowered her hands into her lap. Then she began to sing. The melody was simple, soft, older than the palace walls. Hannah had learned it in the orphan house where frightened children cried through winter nights and no one had enough arms to hold them all. Little wolf beneath the moon, night will pass and morning soon. Lucas's growl faltered. His ears lifted. Hannah kept her voice low and steady. She did not ask him to become human. She did not promise he was harmless. She only gave him something gentle enough to follow. Rest your claws upon the ground. You are safe inside this sound. Lucas removed one hand from his face. His breathing slowed. One step, then another. The nobles pressed farther back as the wolf pup crossed the ruined hall. Hannah continued singing. Lucas stopped within reach. She did not extend her hand. The child made the choice himself. He lowered his head onto her knee. Dark fur receded from his arms. His claws became small fingers clutching the fabric of her plain brown dress. Within seconds, Lucas was a trembling little boy curled against the maid everyone had ignored. Hannah rested one hand near his shoulder without touching him. May I? Lucas nodded. She gently stroked his hair. The great doors opened behind them. Alpha King Gabriel Blackwood entered in dark armor, his towering frame filling the doorway. His amber eyes moved across the fleeing noblewomen, the broken gifts, and the guards still holding silver restraints. Then he saw his son resting quietly in Hannah's lap. The most feared man in the 7 packs went completely still. Lucas opened his eyes. He tightened his fingers around Hannah's dress and whispered one word. Stay. Stay. Lucas whispered again, clutching Hannah's dress as though the entire hall might pull her away. Alpha King Gabriel Blackwood crossed the ruined chamber. Each step of his armored boots echoed between the stone pillars. The remaining nobles bowed quickly, but Gabriel did not look at them. His attention remained on his son. Lucas pressed closer to Hannah. Gabriel stopped several feet away. The most powerful alpha in the 7 packs lowered himself onto one knee. Lucas. The child's shoulders tightened. Gabriel noticed the abandoned silver restraint near the guards. His expression became dangerously still. Who ordered that brought near him? No one answered. Lady Caroline stepped forward from behind the soldiers. Your Majesty, the pup lost control. We were protecting the court. He is 6 years old. He overturned a table. After 4 women surrounded him. Caroline's face reddened. He frightened everyone. Hannah felt Lucas's fingers tighten around the rough fabric at her knee. Gabriel saw it too. He removed one armored glove and placed his empty hand on the floor between them. He did not reach for his son. May I come closer? Lucas buried his face against Hannah. Gabriel's jaw tightened with something that looked almost like grief. Hannah continued stroking the child's hair. You do not have to answer yet, she told Lucas. Gabriel looked at her. A servant speaking over the Alpha King should have been punished. Instead, he remained still. Lucas's breathing slowed again. The last traces of dark fur disappeared from his arms. His fingers became fully human, though small claws still marked the stone where he had crouched. Caroline stared at Hannah. This is enchantment. The room shifted uneasily. Hannah looked up. I used no magic. You sang once, and the royal pup obeyed you. He did not obey me. Caroline pointed toward Lucas. Then explain why he came to you. Hannah looked down at the boy curled against her. Because I was the only person who stopped moving toward him. Gabriel's amber eyes sharpened. What exactly did you do? Hannah met his gaze. I sat down. That cannot be all. I turned sideways so he would not think I was challenging him. I kept my hands where he could see them. I slowed the song whenever his breathing changed. Gabriel looked at the overturned gifts. And the others? They kept asking him to smile, accept presents, and prove he would not hurt them. Caroline's mouth tightened. We were trying to show kindness. You were asking a frightened child to make you feel safe. The hall fell silent. Hannah lowered her voice. I stopped asking him to prove he was harmless. Something changed in Gabriel's face. Not anger. Recognition. He looked at his son as though seeing the scene from Lucas's side for the first time. Gabriel shifted closer by a single step. Lucas lifted his head. His amber eyes moved from Hannah to his father. Did she hurt you? Gabriel asked. Lucas shook his head. Did anyone else? The boy glanced toward the silver restraint. Gabriel followed his gaze. Remove every piece of silver from this hall, he ordered. The guards obeyed immediately. Caroline stepped forward. Your Majesty, allowing a maid to interfere with royal care is dangerous. Gabriel rose to his full height. What is dangerous is an entire court mistaking terror for disobedience. Caroline went quiet. Gabriel looked at Hannah again. What is your name? Hannah Reed. Where did you learn that song? At St. Agnes Orphan House. Lucas suddenly lifted his head. His face had gone pale. Hannah felt his heartbeat quicken beneath her hand. What is it? She asked. The child stared at her. That song. Yes. His voice dropped to a whisper. It sounds like the voice in my nightmares. The voice in your nightmares, Hannah said softly. Does it frighten you? Lucas did not answer. His fingers tightened around her dress, and his gaze moved toward the palace doors as if someone might be listening from beyond them. Gabriel noticed. Clear the hall, he ordered. The remaining nobles protested in whispers, but the guards escorted them out. Caroline lingered near the doorway. Your Majesty, leaving the royal pup alone with an unknown servant is reckless. Gabriel's expression turned cold. She recognized his fear before anyone wearing silk did. Caroline bowed stiffly and departed. When the doors closed, Gabriel looked at Hannah. You will come with us. Lucas immediately shook his head. Hannah understood. He thinks you are taking me away. Gabriel lowered his voice. I am asking you to help him. For how long? Until I understand what happened here. That is not a length of time. The Alpha King stared at the maid who had corrected him twice in one morning. 7 days. Hannah looked down at Lucas. I will agree under conditions. Gabriel's guards shifted uneasily. He raised one hand, silencing them. Speak. No more Luna meetings while I am caring for him. Gabriel nodded. No silver restraints. Agreed. No one calls him dangerous, unstable, or monstrous where he can hear. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Agreed. And Lucas may ask any adult to leave his room, including me. The child looked up at her. Gabriel studied his son. Including me? Especially you? If he is frightened. Pain crossed the king's face, but he nodded. Agreed. Hannah was given rooms beside the royal nursery and access to Lucas's daily schedule. By afternoon, she understood why the boy feared sleep. Every hour of his life had been planned. Lessons, medical examinations, wolf control exercises, meetings with noblewomen who smiled too brightly and touched him without permission. When Lucas refused, adults called him difficult. When he panicked, physicians used silver. Hannah removed the heavy curtains from his nursery and opened the windows to the garden. Lucas watched from beneath a table. You changed my room, he said. I can put everything back. He considered that. Leave the window. That evening, Gabriel entered carrying a wooden box. My wife's belongings, he said. Lucas's mother, Queen Amelia, had died 3 years earlier during a winter fever. Inside the box were letters, ribbons, a silver comb, and several pages of handwritten music. Hannah recognized the melody immediately. It is the same lullaby. Gabriel stood beside her. Amelia sang it when Lucas was an infant. The first page contained the lines Hannah knew from St. Agnes. The second ended halfway through a verse. The final sheet had been torn away. Along the remaining margin, Amelia had written, When he fears the wolf inside him, sing until he remembers it is his. Lucas stood in the doorway. She never finished it, he whispered. Hannah examined the torn edge. Dark blue ink stained the paper fibers. She touched it carefully. The mark had not faded. This page was removed recently. Gabriel frowned. That is impossible. The box has been sealed since Amelia died. Hannah held the music toward the candlelight. The blue ink glistened. Your wife died 3 years ago, she said. But whoever tore out the final verse did it only months ago. Someone did not tear out that verse to hide a song, Hannah said. They removed it to keep Lucas afraid of his own wolf. Gabriel took the page from her. His eyes moved over the fresh blue stain along the torn edge. Only 3 people had been allowed access to Queen Amelia's sealed belongings. Gabriel, Margaret, and Dr. Benjamin Cole, the royal physician. Lucas stood near the nursery door, watching their faces. Did I do something wrong? He asked. Hannah immediately lowered the music. No, then why are you whispering? Gabriel crossed the room, but stopped before reaching him. We found something that may explain why your lessons have been so difficult. Lucas looked toward the medicine tray beside his bed. Dr. Cole says my wolf is bad. Gabriel became completely still. Hannah knelt near Lucas. What happens before you lose control? The boy thought carefully. My stomach hurts. What else? My teeth feel cold. He rubbed his wrists. And my skin burns. Hannah lifted his sleeve. A faint silver-red mark circled the inside of his wrist. Not a restraint wound. Something beneath the skin had reacted. Gabriel saw it. What medicine does Cole give you? Lucas pointed toward 3 dark bottles on the tray. The bitter one before lessons. Hannah uncorked the smallest bottle. A metallic scent reached her immediately. She had smelled it before at St. Agnes, when silver dust contaminated the well and made young wolves feverish. This contains silver. Gabriel's expression hardened. Cole said the tonic prevented violent shifting. It may be causing it. He looked at her sharply. You are accusing the royal physician of poisoning my son. I am asking you to test the medicine. Gabriel's wolf pressed against his control. For 3 years, Dr. Cole had stood beside Lucas's bed, explaining that the child's condition was rare, dangerous, and beyond ordinary treatment. To admit Hannah might be right meant admitting Gabriel had trusted the man harming his son. You have cared for Lucas for 1 day, he said, and I have watched him before and after the tonic. That is not proof. No, Hannah replied, which is why I asked for a test. Lucas lowered his head. Hannah noticed the change in his breathing. She turned toward him. You are not being discussed as if you are not here. The boy looked up. Do you want us to test it? Lucas nodded. Gabriel closed his eyes briefly. Then he called Daniel Brooks. Within an hour, the nursery table held 2 bowls of silvery active moonvine. Dr. Cole's tonic went into the first. Clean fever medicine went into the second. The clean medicine left the leaves pale green. The royal tonic turned them black. A thin silver vapor rose from the bowl. Lucas backed away. Gabriel stepped between his son and the smoke. "Seal the medicine cabinet," he ordered. "No one gives Lucas another dose." Daniel bowed. "I will bring Dr. Cole." But the physician's rooms were empty. His traveling cloak was gone. So were Lucas's original medical records. The guards found one broken blue ink bottle beside the window and fresh hoofprints leading from the eastern gate. Gabriel stared at the empty cabinet. He knew he would test it. Hannah looked at the torn music page. He also knew the missing verse could teach Lucas to control his wolf without medicine. Lucas moved closer to her. "Can you teach me?" Hannah placed the remaining sheet on the table. "I can teach you what I know. And the missing part." She looked toward the open window where Dr. Cole had escaped. "We find it." Daniel returned carrying a royal travel pass recovered near the eastern gate. The document bore Caroline Whitmore's seal. Gabriel's face darkened. Caroline had not merely witnessed Lucas's fear. She had helped preserve it. Outside, warning bells began ringing from the lower courtyard. A stable guard shouted that Dr. Cole had taken the road toward the abandoned moon chamber. Lucas gripped Hannah's hand. His next wolf control lesson had been scheduled there at sunset. "Your wolf is not something you must defeat," Hannah told Lucas. "It is frightened because no one ever taught you how to listen to it." The enclosed palace garden was empty except for Hannah, Lucas, and Gabriel. Morning sunlight warmed the stone paths. White roses climbed the walls, and a shallow fountain murmured beneath the trees. Daniel had searched the road toward the moon chamber, but Dr. Cole had vanished before the guards arrived. Until the physician was found, Gabriel had suspended every formal wolf control lesson. Hannah knelt beside Lucas on the grass. "No silver," she said. "No commands. You decide when we begin." Lucas glanced toward his father. Gabriel stood near the garden gate without armor, though his broad frame still made him seem like a guard tower given human form. "Will he be angry if I cannot do it?" Lucas whispered. Gabriel heard. Pain crossed his face. "No," he said. "I will be proud that you tried." Lucas studied him as though deciding whether the answer could be trusted. Then he turned back to Hannah. "I want to begin." She placed one hand against the earth. "Tell me 5 things you can see." "The fountain. Your blue ribbon. Father's boots. The white roses. A bird. 4 things you can feel. The grass. The wind. My shirt. My heartbeat." His breathing slowed. Hannah began the first line of the lullaby. Lucas closed his eyes. Dark fur appeared along his arms. His fingers sharpened into claws. Gabriel took one instinctive step forward. Hannah raised her hand. "Let him choose." Gabriel stopped. Lucas's shoulders trembled. "My teeth feel cold." "That is your body changing," Hannah said. "Not a punishment." His breathing quickened. "Touch the ground." Lucas pressed both palms into the grass. "Tell your wolf where you are." "In the garden." "Who is with you?" "Hannah." He hesitated. "And father?" Gabriel lowered himself onto the grass several feet away. Lucas looked at him. The Alpha King did not reach out. He simply remained where his son could see him. Hannah continued singing. "Little wolf beneath the moon, night will pass and morning soon." Lucas shifted fully. A small black wolf pup stood in the sunlight, shaking but alert. No tables overturned. No one screamed. No silver appeared. Hannah smiled. "You did it." The pup looked down at his paws. Then he looked toward Gabriel. For the first time in 3 years, the Alpha King smiled at his son's wolf. Lucas bounded across the grass and stopped before him. Gabriel opened his hands but waited. The pup stepped between them. Gabriel gently touched his fur. A broken sound escaped the king's throat. Hannah began the next line. "Rest your claws upon the ground." Lucas's ears lifted. Then, in a small, uncertain voice shaped halfway between child and wolf, he sang back. "You are safe inside this sound." Gabriel closed his eyes. His wife had once sung that line through nights of fever and fear. Now his son had reclaimed it. Lucas shifted back into human form and began laughing. The sound carried through the garden. Servants paused along the upper balconies. Guards turned toward the roses. For years, they had heard the royal pup growl, cry, and break things. None of them remembered his laughter. Later that morning, Lucas walked through the great hall beside Hannah. He wore no restraint. He carried no medicine. When nobles moved away nervously, Lucas lifted his chin and kept walking. Then Lady Caroline entered with 6 council elders behind her. She held a small dark bottle between 2 gloved fingers. "This was discovered beneath Hannah Reed's mattress," she announced. Silver vapor curled inside the glass. Caroline faced Gabriel. The maid did not cure your son. Her gaze moved toward Hannah with calculated triumph. She poisoned him first, so she could become the only woman capable of saving him. That bottle was not beneath my mattress this morning, Hannah said. Someone placed it there after I left for the garden. Lady Caroline held the dark vial toward the council elders. Silver vapor curled behind the glass. A convenient claim, she replied. The maid gains access to the royal pup, removes his physician, and then becomes the only person able to calm him. Lucas stepped in front of Hannah. She did not hurt me. Caroline softened her voice. You are a child, Your Highness. You cannot understand how easily kindness can be performed. Lucas's small hands curled into fists. Gabriel descended from the throne. Enough. The room fell silent. Daniel placed Dr. Cole's recovered travel pass on the council table. This document bears Lady Caroline's seal. Caroline did not flinch. My seal was stolen. And the bottle? Daniel asked. Found by 2 servants in Hannah's room. Hannah looked toward the women standing beside the elders. Both avoided her eyes. Gabriel examined the vial. The king's expression revealed nothing, but Hannah saw the conflict beneath his control. He did not believe Caroline. Not completely, but the council was watching. The noble families were already whispering that a servant had gained improper influence over the royal heir. Elder Thomas Gray stepped forward. Until the evidence is examined, Hannah Reed must be removed from the prince's care. Lucas grabbed her hand. No, Gabriel looked at his son. Lucas, she stays. The boy's breathing quickened. Dark fur appeared along his wrists. Hannah knelt beside him. Look at me. Lucas did. Tell me 3 things you can hear. Your voice. The fountain outside. Father breathing. His claws receded. Gabriel watched Hannah restore in seconds what the court had nearly broken. Then he faced the elders. Hannah will not be imprisoned. Caroline's smile almost appeared. But she will leave the royal wing until the investigation is complete, Gabriel continued. She will remain under protection in the Western servants' residence. Lucas shook his head violently. You promised no one would make her leave. Gabriel crouched before him. I am protecting her while Daniel proves what happened. You are sending her away. The accusation struck with more force than a growl. Hannah slowly released Lucas's hand. She looked at Gabriel. You know the medicine was silver. Yes. You know Dr. Cole escaped using Caroline's seal. Yes. You watched Lucas control his shift without either of them. Gabriel's jaw tightened. The council requires a lawful investigation, and your son requires one adult who believes what he experiences. I believe you. Not enough to let me stay. Gabriel's silence became her answer. Hannah rose. For one brief morning, she had believed the Alpha King might choose his child's healing over the appearance of perfect control. Instead, he had chosen a decision that looked cautious to everyone except the frightened boy beside her. She removed the temporary nursery key from her belt and placed it in Gabriel's palm. You are afraid they will think you are a weak king, she said quietly. Lucas is afraid you will never choose him over being one. Pain moved across Gabriel's face. Hannah turned before it could weaken her resolve. Lucas followed her toward the doors. Daniel gently blocked his path. Hannah. She looked back. The boy stood beneath the enormous royal banners, suddenly small again. I will return when the truth is found, she promised. The doors closed between them. That night, Hannah sat awake in the western residence, listening to rain strike the narrow windows. Near midnight, the palace alarm bells began ringing. Heavy footsteps thundered through the corridor. Daniel opened her door without ceremony. His face had gone pale. Lucas is missing. Hannah stood instantly. He could not have passed the royal guards. He did not use the main doors. Daniel held out a strip of parchment found beneath the child's pillow. Small marks had been tapped into the paper with charcoal. Not words. Musical notes. The unfinished lullaby. From somewhere deep beneath the castle, a child screamed. Those are not random marks, Hannah said. Lucas left us the missing verse. Daniel spread the charcoal-stained parchment across the narrow table. The notes were uneven, drawn by a frightened child's hand, but Hannah recognized the rhythm. Lucas had tapped the same pattern against the garden fountain after completing his first controlled shift. A path hidden inside a song. Heavy footsteps entered the western residence. Gabriel appeared without his crown, rain darkening his black cloak. His amber eyes moved from Hannah to the parchment. I sent her away, he said. Caroline needed Lucas alone, and I gave her exactly what she wanted. There was no defense in his voice, only guilt. Hannah folded the page. You can regret it after we find him. Gabriel nodded. What do the notes mean? The final verse descends one tone at a time. Hannah pointed toward the floor. Lucas is telling us to go below the nursery. They hurried through the silent palace. Inside Lucas's chamber, the blankets had been arranged to resemble a sleeping child. The western window remained locked, but small muddy footprints ended beside an old wooden toy chest. Daniel moved it aside. A narrow iron ring appeared beneath the rug. Gabriel pulled open the hidden hatch. Cold air rose from the darkness. The passage below had once connected the royal nursery to the moon chamber, allowing healers to move frightened pups without exposing them to the public halls. Someone had reopened it recently. Hannah descended first. Gabriel stayed beside her while Daniel followed with a torch. The walls carried shallow scratches at a child's height. 3 short lines. Too long. The lullaby's rhythm. Lucas marked the way, Hannah whispered. At the first junction, they discovered an abandoned medical room. Shelves held dozens of empty tonic bottles. A ledger lay open beside a silver scale. Daniel examined the entries. Payments from Lady Caroline to Dr. Cole. Gabriel turned another page. The records showed silver quantities increasing before every Luna presentation. Each time Lucas frightened another candidate, Caroline's name appeared beside a private council payment. Hannah opened a locked drawer. Inside lay Queen Amelia's missing sheet music. The torn edge matched perfectly. Beneath the final verse, Amelia had written detailed instructions for helping Lucas recognize the difference between fear and aggression. Caroline and Cole had not simply hidden a song. They had hidden the treatment that could have made Lucas independent of them. Daniel found another document beneath the music. A declaration had already been prepared for the council. Lucas Blackwood is permanently incapable of controlling his wolf and must be removed from succession. Caroline Whitmore, upon becoming Luna, shall assume authority over the royal bloodline until another heir is born. Gabriel read the final sentence twice. She never intended to help him. Hannah carefully lifted the missing page. She needed everyone to believe he could not be helped. A faint sound moved through the tunnel. One note, then another. Lucas was singing. His voice trembled beyond the stone ceiling. Hannah followed it toward a circular stairway. At the top stood a sealed silver door. Gabriel reached for the handle. Hannah caught his wrist. The chamber reacts to alpha aggression. If you force it, the restraints around Lucas will tighten. Gabriel's wolf pressed against his control. What do we do? Hannah placed Amelia's final verse in his hand. You listen. The singing stopped. A metallic crack sounded overhead. Then Lucas screamed. Silver light poured beneath the door. Daniel found a narrow observation slit and looked through it. His face hardened. Caroline is inside. Cole is activating the binding circle. Gabriel lowered himself beside the sealed entrance, his hand shaking around his dead wife's song. Hannah knelt beside him. Above them, Lucas's scream became a frightened howl. The final ritual bell began to rise. Hannah pressed her palm against the silver door. Everyone ran from him once, she said. This time, we reach him before he believes they were right. Open the door, Hannah said. And when everyone runs again, let me be the one who stays. Daniel forced his dagger into the observation lock, while Gabriel held the silver mechanism steady. The door opened with a violent crack. Moonlight flooded the circular chamber. Lucas stood at its center in the shape of a black wolf pup, silver chains glowing around his legs. His fur bristled beneath the pain. His amber eyes no longer recognized the people beyond the circle. Dr. Cole stood beside a table of dark medicine bottles. Lady Caroline held the final ritual bell. Council elders watched from the upper gallery, summoned to witness Lucas being declared unfit for succession. Caroline pulled the bell rope. Lucas howled. The sound shook dust from the ceiling. The elders fled toward the exits. Guards backed away. Everyone ran from the royal pup again. Hannah walked forward. Caroline stared at her. You were removed from royal service. And you were never given permission to hurt a child. Cole poured silver tonic into the ritual channel. The circle brightened. Lucas lunged against the chains, snapping his teeth at shadows that were not there. Gabriel moved toward him. Hannah caught his arm. If you enter like an alpha preparing to fight, he will believe he must fight you. That silver is burning him. I know. Gabriel's hands trembled. What do you need me to do? Sit down. The Alpha King looked at the terrified wolf inside the circle. Then he lowered himself onto the stone floor. Hannah entered the outer edge of the silver light and sat exactly as she had in the great hall. No weapon, no title, no demand. She turned slightly aside and began to sing. Little wolf beneath the moon, night will pass and morning soon. Lucas's growl broke between breaths. Caroline pulled the bell rope again. He cannot control himself, she shouted. Look at him, Hannah continued. Rest your claws upon the ground. Lucas's paws scraped against the stone. The chains tightened. Gabriel looked at the missing sheet of music in his hand. His voice was rough when he joined her. You are safe inside this sound. Lucas froze. His father had never sung to him. Gabriel continued, quieter this time. No crown commands the wolf you bear. No fear can tell you who you are. Hannah recognized Amelia's final verse. Lucas's ears lifted. Cole reached for another bottle. Daniel struck it from his hand and forced him against the wall. Caroline tried to flee, but Margaret and 2 palace guards blocked the doorway. Inside the circle, Lucas looked from Hannah to Gabriel. His breathing slowed. Hannah placed one palm against the floor. 5 things you can see. Lucas's voice emerged beneath the growl. Hannah. 1. Father. 2. The moon. 3. My paws. 4. He looked at the broken medicine bottle. The silver. 5. What can you feel? The ground. His claws pressed flat against the stone. My heartbeat. The chains flickered. My wolf. Hannah smiled through tears. Is it your enemy? Lucas shook his head. No, the silver restraints cracked. Lucas stepped forward. Not because Hannah pulled him. Not because Gabriel commanded him. Because he chose to move. The circle shattered beneath his paws. Lucas crossed the broken boundary and climbed into Gabriel's waiting arms. The Alpha King held his son against his chest while Lucas shifted back into a trembling little boy. Daniel bound Caroline and Dr. Cole with ordinary iron restraints. The elders slowly returned to the chamber. Gabriel rose with Lucas in his arms. He looked across the nobles who had fled. The throne kept asking who could control my son, he said. Hannah Reed was the first person who asked what was hurting him. Lucas reached toward Hannah. Gabriel did not carry him away. He stepped closer and allowed his son to choose. Lucas took Hannah's hand. Between them lay the broken silver circle. Above them, the final ritual bell remained silent. I will stay for Lucas, Hannah said. Whether I stay for you depends on what you do after everyone stops watching. 3 weeks after the moon chamber shattered, the Hall of 7 Packs opened for judgment. Lucas sat beside Gabriel at the central table. No silver restraints surrounded his wrists. No physician stood behind him with a dark bottle. Hannah occupied a separate chair as a witness, dressed in a simple blue gown provided by Margaret. She wore no jewels and carried no royal title. Lady Caroline Whitmore and Dr. Benjamin Cole stood beneath guard. Daniel placed the recovered ledgers, payment orders, silver tonic, and Queen Amelia's missing music before the council. The evidence revealed 3 years of calculated harm. Cole had given Lucas controlled doses of silver before every public meeting, causing pain, confusion, and involuntary shifts. Caroline had paid him through private accounts. Each frightening incident had driven another Luna candidate away and strengthened her argument that Lucas should be removed from succession. Once she married Gabriel, she intended to control the throne until another heir was born. Cole confessed first. He blamed Caroline. Caroline blamed ambition, tradition, and the council members who had praised her willingness to manage a dangerous child. Gabriel's expression remained cold. He was never dangerous, Hannah said. He was frightened, medicated, and surrounded by adults who benefited from his fear. Lucas looked toward the council. I told people the medicine hurt. The elders lowered their eyes. Why did no one listen? No one answered. The silence became part of the judgment. Caroline and Cole were convicted of poisoning the royal heir, falsifying medical evidence, kidnapping, conspiracy against the succession, and endangering a child through unlawful silver rituals. Cole lost his medical title and was sentenced to life imprisonment. Caroline's noble rank was revoked. She was sent to the northern fortress, where her family name carried no authority. But Gabriel did not end the hearing with punishment. He introduced a new child protection charter. No royal pup could receive silver-based treatment without independent review. Children could refuse contact with political candidates. Caregivers could report concerns directly to the council, regardless of rank. Servants could testify against nobles without losing their positions. Royal medical files required signatures from 2 independent healers. And no child would ever again be used as a test of whether someone deserved to become Luna. The charter passed unanimously. Then Gabriel faced Hannah. "Your actions saved my son." Hannah remained still. "They helped him save himself." Gabriel nodded. "Then I offer you the office of royal governess." No, whispers moved through the hall. Hannah stood. "A governess serves at the pleasure of the crown. If I disagree with you tomorrow, you could remove me." Gabriel did not argue. "What position would you accept?" "Royal child advocate. Independent authority. Access to medical records. The right to challenge treatment. Protection that does not depend on whether I remain close to you." Gabriel turned toward the council. "Write it into law." By sunset, Hannah Reed became the first royal child advocate in Blackwood history. Her authority belonged to the charter, not to Gabriel's affection, not to Lucas's attachment, not to a future Luna title. 3 months passed. Lucas learned to recognize his panic before it became a shift. Some days he still growled. Some nights he woke from nightmares. But Gabriel no longer summoned Hannah at the first sign of fear. He sat beside his son, counted breaths, named the things they could see. And when Lucas asked him to leave, Gabriel left without anger. One spring afternoon, Hannah found them in the palace garden. Lucas sat beneath the white roses, singing the lullaby badly and proudly. Gabriel sat on the grass beside him. The Alpha King's crown rested several feet away on a stone bench. Lucas waved when he saw Hannah. "You missed the best part. I heard it from the path." Gabriel looked up at her. During the past 3 months, he had never asked her to become Luna. He had never used gratitude as a debt. He had apologized once, then allowed his changed behavior to repeat the apology every day. Hannah approached. Lucas shifted to make room beside him. Gabriel remained where he was. "May I ask you something?" he said. "You just did." A faint smile touched his face. "May I sit beside you when Lucas is not the reason?" Hannah studied him. The man before her was still powerful enough to command armies. But he waited for an answer as carefully as his son once waited for her song. She lowered herself onto the grass. Then she moved slightly to one side, leaving an open space. "You may sit," she said. "Nothing more is promised." Gabriel joined her. "I understand." Lucas began the first line of the lullaby. Hannah continued the second. Gabriel joined them on the third, still rough and uncertain. No council watched. No nobles applauded. No title changed hands. 3 people simply sat beneath the spring branches and finished the song Queen Amelia had left behind. For the first time, Lucas did not need the melody because he was afraid. He sang because he was happy. And when Hannah looked toward Gabriel, she understood that love had not begun the moment he noticed her in the great hall. It began here, after the danger had passed, when he still remembered to ask permission before taking the place beside her. "You do not have to become Luna to belong with us," Gabriel said. "I need you to know that before I ask you for anything." 6 months after Hannah became royal child advocate, the first gathering held under the new charter filled the palace courtyard. Children from every pack arrived with parents, healers, and guardians. Some had difficulty shifting. Others feared their wolves after years of punishment. No silver restraints were permitted through the gates. No child was forced to demonstrate control before the council. Hannah moved between the families in a dark blue gown, carrying a ledger filled with treatment requests and personal concerns. She listened to servants as carefully as she listened to nobles. Gabriel watched from the palace steps. He wore ceremonial black, but his crown remained in his hand. Lucas stood beside him. "Are you going to stare at her all day?" the boy asked. Gabriel glanced down. "I am observing her work." "You stare differently when she is working." The Alpha King nearly smiled. Before he could answer, shouting rose near the eastern fountain. A young wolf named Ethan had shifted unexpectedly after a healer approached with a medical case. His mother tried to hold him, but panic made the child snap at everyone nearby. Several nobles retreated. Hannah did not run. Neither did Lucas. The royal pup walked toward Ethan and sat on the ground several feet away. "Do not touch him," Lucas told the adults. "He needs space." Hannah stopped beside Gabriel. For once, she did not need to guide his son. Lucas placed both hands against the stone. "Tell me 5 things you see," he said. Ethan's frightened growl weakened. "The fountain. 1. The trees. 2. Slowly, the child followed Lucas's voice. Gabriel looked at Hannah. "You gave him that." She shook her head. I gave him somewhere safe to learn it. He chose what to do with it. When Ethan finally shifted back, Lucas offered him a piece of bread from the festival table. No one applauded. Hannah had forbidden adults from turning a frightened child's recovery into entertainment. But Ethan's mother began to cry. Gabriel descended the steps and knelt before Lucas. You helped him without making him feel ashamed. Lucas shrugged with exaggerated importance. Hannah says being brave does not mean being loud. Gabriel glanced toward her. She is usually right. Usually? Hannah asked. Lucas laughed and ran toward Ethan. That evening, after the families departed, Hannah found Gabriel beneath the white roses. 2 chairs waited beside a small table. Neither stood higher than the other. Her favorite tea, black tea with orange peel and honey, steamed between them. You remembered, she said. I asked Margaret 3 months ago, and waited until now. I wanted to remember without needing to ask again. Hannah sat. Gabriel remained standing. I have another question. She raised an eyebrow. You have improved at those. He placed his crown on the table. The council wants me to announce that I am seeking a Luna. Hannah's expression did not change. I told them I am not. Because of me? Because a Luna chosen to satisfy the council would repeat the mistake that almost destroyed Lucas. He moved to the empty chair, but did not sit. I do not want to appoint you, reward you, or place you beside me because my son loves you. Then what do you want? To court Hannah Reed. The simplicity of it caught her off guard. Not the maid who calmed the royal pup, he continued. Not the woman the kingdom praises. You. Hannah looked at the man who had once sent her away to protect his throne. Since then, he had changed laws, surrendered authority, listened when challenged, and learned to comfort his son without expecting her to rescue them both. May I sit beside you? Gabriel asked. She touched the back of the second chair. You may. He sat. Hannah poured his tea, then her own. No promises, she said. No claims, he agreed. From an open window above them, Lucas began singing the lullaby. Gabriel joined the melody quietly. After a moment, Hannah did too. This time, no one was frightened. No one was running. And the song that had once saved a royal pup became the beginning of a family formed not by rank, fear, or obligation, but by the choice to stay. I will not ask you to stand beside my throne, Gabriel said. I am asking whether I may build a life beside yours. 1 year after Hannah first sat on the great hall floor, the palace opened its doors for the festival of the first moon. The same chamber where noblewomen had once fled from Lucas now welcomed children from every pack. There were no contests for obedience. No jeweled gifts meant to purchase affection. The floor had been covered with cushions, wooden toys, and quiet spaces where frightened pups could rest without explanation. Hannah stood near the eastern pillars, speaking with a healer from the Northern Territory. She was no longer dressed as a maid. The silver emblem of the royal child advocate rested at her shoulder, but the plain blue gown beneath it remained unmistakably hers. Across the hall, Lucas helped a younger pup count his breaths. He was taller now, more confident. When the child's claws appeared, Lucas did not call for guards. He sat down. The gesture made Hannah smile. Gabriel approached without ceremony. You are staring at him, she said. I am observing his work. You stare differently when you are proud. He accepted the correction with a quiet smile. For 12 months, Gabriel had courted her without promises of rank. They had shared dinners, arguments, winter walks, council meetings, and long evenings beside Lucas's bed. He had never used his son's love to pressure her. Never asked the council to name her Luna. Never treated her independence as a temporary obstacle. When Hannah challenged him publicly, he listened. When she said no, he did not become cold. When she needed distance, he gave it without withdrawing his care. That consistency had done what royal declarations never could. It had made trust possible. The musicians began the final festival song. Lucas ran toward them. Hannah, father, come outside. He led them into the moonlit garden. Beneath the white roses stood 2 simple wooden benches. Children and their families gathered around the fountain while lanterns floated above the paths. Gabriel stopped beside Hannah. The council elders watched from a distance, but no crown rested on his head. I have something to ask, he said. Hannah glanced toward the crowd. Does it require an audience? No. They are here for Lucas. The boy climbed onto the fountain's edge and began the lullaby. Other children joined him. The melody that had once calmed a terrified royal pup moved gently through the garden. Gabriel turned toward Hannah. I love you. He did not kneel. He did not offer a crown. He simply stood before her as a man who had learned that love could not be commanded. I love the woman who challenged my laws, protected my son, and refused to become smaller so I could feel powerful, he continued. But I will not ask you to surrender the life you built. Hannah's throat tightened. What are you asking? For the right to keep choosing you. Privately. Publicly. On the days we agree and the days we do not. He opened his hand. A small silver ring rested in his palm, shaped like two unfinished branches. No royal seal, he said. No claim. Only a promise that remains incomplete unless you choose to complete it. Hannah looked at Lucas. He continued singing, deliberately pretending not to watch. Then she looked at the man beside her. Will my office remain independent? Yes. Will I keep my own name? Yes. Will you still listen when I tell you that you are wrong? Gabriel exhaled. I suspect you will ensure it. Hannah smiled. She placed her hand in his. You may keep choosing me, she said. And I will choose you too. Gabriel slid the ring onto her finger. The children reached the final verse. Lucas finally turned toward them and grinned. Hannah began to sing. Gabriel joined her. This time, the Alpha King's voice did not shake. Around them, no one ran. No child hid. And when Gabriel took Hannah's hand, he waited until her fingers closed around his before holding on. Before I accept your bond, Hannah said, the kingdom must understand that loving its king will never make me his possession. The Hall of Seven Packs became silent. 1 year had passed since Gabriel placed the unfinished silver ring on Hannah's finger. Now representatives from every territory stood beneath the ancient banners to witness their marriage. But no traditional Luna oath waited on the altar. Hannah had refused it. The old words required a woman to surrender her name, authority, and wolf to the Alpha King. Generations had repeated them without question. Gabriel had ordered the oath rewritten. Not privately, not only for Hannah, for every future Luna. He stood before her in black ceremonial armor, tall and broad-shouldered beneath a silver-trimmed cloak. His crown rested on the altar instead of his head. Lucas stood between them, holding Queen Amelia's restored sheet music. The boy was 7 now. He no longer hid his claws when they appeared. He no longer apologized for needing space. And when nervous whispers moved through the noble rows, Lucas looked toward Hannah instead of lowering his head. Elder Thomas Gray opened the new charter. Hannah read, Do you enter this union freely? I do. Do you retain your name, your office, and your independent authority? I do. Do you promise obedience to the Alpha King? Hannah looked at Gabriel. No, several older nobles stiffened. Gabriel's mouth almost curved into a smile. The elder continued, Do you promise honesty, loyalty, and equal responsibility, while preserving the right to challenge any command that threatens the kingdom or its people? I do. Then Gabriel stepped forward. Gabriel Blackwood, do you accept that Hannah's consent may never be assumed because of your crown, your bond, or your marriage? I do. Do you accept that her authority does not come from you? I do. Do you promise to hear her no without punishment, distance, or retaliation? Gabriel's amber eyes remained on Hannah. I do. The final question belonged to no elder. Gabriel asked it himself. May I complete the bond? The hall seemed to stop breathing. Hannah remembered the first day she had seen him standing above the ruined Great Hall while his frightened son slept in her lap. He had been powerful then, but he had not known how to kneel beside fear without trying to command it. Now he waited. No alpha pressure filled the chamber. No counsel demanded an heir. No child needed her to rescue him. Hannah could refuse and still remain royal child advocate. She could leave the altar without losing her home, her work, or Gabriel's respect. That freedom made her answer possible. Yes, she said. You may. Gabriel touched her cheek slowly, leaving her time to move away. She did not. He rested his forehead against hers. The mate bond awakened not as a chain, but as warmth moving carefully between them. Hannah felt Gabriel's strength, his grief, his love for Lucas, his fear that he might still fail them. And beneath all of it, she felt the steady restraint of a man who understood that connection did not erase choice. Gabriel felt her courage in return. The loneliness of the orphan house, the stubborn hope that had made her sit beside a child everyone else feared, the anger she had carried when he sent her away, the trust she had rebuilt slowly, one witnessed action at a time. The silver ring completed itself around her finger. Its two unfinished branches joined without losing their separate shapes. Lucas cleared his throat loudly. "Are we singing now?" Laughter moved through the hall. Hannah turned toward him. "We are." Lucas began the lullaby. His voice was stronger than it had been in the moon chamber. Children from every pack joined him from the front rows. Some sang clearly. Others missed the rhythm. One small pup shifted from excitement and knocked over a ceremonial cushion. No one ran. Gabriel joined the second verse. Hannah joined the third. When they reached Queen Amelia's final lines, Lucas stepped between them and took both their hands. "No crown commands the wolf you bear. No fear can tell you who you are." The ceremony ended without Gabriel placing the crown on Hannah's head. Instead, he carried it to the twin seats beneath the banners. Two chairs waited there, equal in height, equal in distance from the council. Gabriel sat in one. The other remained empty until Hannah chose to cross the hall. She stopped beside it and looked at Lucas. "Where will you sit?" Lucas dragged a smaller chair between theirs. "Here." Hannah laughed and took her place. The nobles bowed, not to a maid transformed by royal favor, not to a woman rewarded for calming a difficult prince. They bowed to Hannah Reed, royal child advocate, chosen maid of Gabriel Blackwood, and the woman who had changed the kingdom by refusing to run from a frightened child. Gabriel reached toward her hand. He paused before touching it. Hannah closed the distance herself, and beneath the ancient banners, while Lucas continued singing between them, the Alpha King held the hand of the woman who had taught his family that staying only mattered when leaving remained a choice. "Do you remember the day everyone ran from me?" Lucas asked. Hannah looked across the palace garden. 5 years had passed since she first sat on the great hall floor and sang to a terrified 6-year-old boy. Lucas was 11 now, tall for his age, with Gabriel's dark hair and Queen Amelia's amber eyes. He stood beneath the white roses beside a younger wolf pup who had arrived from the western pack that morning. The child hid behind a stone bench, trembling after an uncontrolled shift. "I remember," Hannah said. Lucas lowered himself onto the grass. "I thought it meant I was a monster." "And what do you think now?" He considered the question. "I think adults sometimes run because they do not understand what they are seeing." The younger pup watched him cautiously. Lucas turned slightly aside, keeping his hands visible. He did not reach forward. He simply began to sing. "Little wolf beneath the moon, night will pass and morning soon." Hannah remained near the garden entrance. She did not intervene. Lucas no longer needed her to guide every breath. He had learned how to offer safety without taking away another child's choice. Across the courtyard, Gabriel approached carrying 2 cups of tea. The Alpha King still looked powerful enough to silence an army, but no guards followed him into the garden. He handed Hannah her cup. "Black tea, orange peel, 1 spoonful of honey." "You remembered," she said. "I have had 5 years of practice." His crown rested inside the council chamber where it belonged. Hannah's silver child advocate emblem remained pinned to her cloak. Marriage had not ended her work. Becoming Gabriel's chosen mate had not placed her beneath his authority. The independent offices she created now operated in all 7 packs. Servants, healers, parents, and children could report abuse without asking permission from a noble house. Silver restraints had become illegal except in immediate life-threatening emergencies. Every royal medical decision required independent review, and once each season, Lucas attended the council, not as evidence of Gabriel's bloodline, but as the elected representative of young wolves receiving care. Gabriel watched his son finish the lullaby. "He has Amelia's voice," he said. "He has his own." Gabriel smiled. "You are usually right." "Usually?" "Always when you can hear me say it." The younger pup finally stepped from behind the bench. Lucas did not celebrate. He only moved enough to leave space beside him. The child sat. From the upper balcony, Margaret rang the dinner bell. Lucas stood and offered the pup his hand. When the child hesitated, Lucas waited. No pressure, no command. Eventually, small fingers closed around his. Hannah felt Gabriel's hand brush hers. He paused. Even after 5 years of marriage, he still waited. She intertwined their fingers. Together, they followed the children toward the palace. Inside the great hall, the eastern pillars remained unchanged. The old stone floor still carried one faint scratch from Lucas's claws. Hannah had refused every request to polish it away, not as a reminder of his fear, as proof of how far he had come. At dinner, Lucas sat between them and complained about council lessons. The rescued pup sat beside Margaret, eating warm bread without watching the doors. No one wore ceremonial silk. No gifts covered the tables. No candidate was being tested. When the room grew quiet, Lucas began humming. The younger child joined him. Then Margaret. Then Gabriel. Hannah listened for one moment before adding her voice. Years earlier, everyone had heard a growl and fled. She had heard fear and stayed. But the kingdom's true change was not that Hannah became brave enough to sit beside one frightened child. It was that, eventually, everyone else learned how to stay too.